The screens in Mission Control went dark at 3:47 p.m. on October 12, 2025. Just moments before, Commander Michael Torres had been smiling from the bridge of the Prometheus Dawn, his face beaming with joy that traveled across 7 light-years. Behind him, other crew members cheered and embraced each other. "We have arrived," Torres said, his voice clear despite the vast distance. "The planet is perfect, even better than we hoped. Beginning landing procedures now. We'll send detailed reports once we're on the ground." Then the signal cut out. At first, nobody worried. Landing a massive colony ship carrying 847 people was complicated. The communication systems would be offline during the descent. Everyone expected the signal to return within hours. Hours became days. Days became weeks. Earth sent message after message into the void, receiving only silence in return. Sarah Chen stood in her small apartment, watching the news reports with her hands pressed against the window. Her sister Amy had been on that ship. Amy, who loved painting and terrible jokes. Amy, who had been so excited to see a new world that she could barely sleep the week before launch. "They're fine," Sarah whispered to herself. "They have to be fine." 7 years passed. 7 long years of silence from Eden 7, the planet they had called the Promised Planet. The world's attention slowly moved on to other things. New missions launched. New discoveries were made. But the question remained, hanging over humanity like a dark cloud. What happened to the colonists? Sarah refused to forget. She left her teaching position and joined the military space exploration division. She trained harder than anyone else, pushing herself through every test and qualification. She studied xenobiology, planetary systems, and survival protocols. She learned to fly ships and lead teams. She had one goal: to find out what happened to her sister. In 2031, the Global Space Alliance announced a new mission. They would send a fast response ship to Eden 7. The journey would take 7 years using the newest engines that could push the speed limits. They would investigate the colony site and bring back answers. Sarah applied immediately. So did thousands of others. The selection process was brutal. They needed specialists, people who could handle anything they might find. Scientists, soldiers, engineers, and medical experts. Only 12 positions were available. Sarah made the final cut. When Director Hammond told her she had been selected as the mission commander, she felt relief and terror in equal measure. This was what she wanted, but now she would have to face whatever truth waited on Eden 7. The team gathered for the first time in a conference room overlooking the construction bays where their ship, the Requiem, was being built. Sarah looked at each face around the table. Dr. Marcus Webb, the chief scientist, was a thin man with nervous hands. Lieutenant James Park, the security officer, had kind eyes but a jaw that suggested he'd seen combat. Dr. Yuki Tanaka, their medical officer, sat with perfect posture. There were others too, each brilliant in their field. "We don't know what we're going to find," Sarah told them during that first meeting. Best case, it was equipment failure and they're alive, just unable to communicate. Worst case, she didn't finish. Everyone knew the possibilities: disease, hostile aliens, environmental hazards, violent conflict among the colonists themselves. They spent months training together, becoming a team. They reviewed every piece of data about Eden 7. The planet was almost Earth's twin. Breathable atmosphere, liquid water, comfortable temperature range, vegetation that looked green from orbit, no obvious signs of intelligent life. It seemed perfect for human colonization. Sarah watched the archived footage of the Prometheus Dawn's journey repeatedly. In the early videos, the colonists were excited, nervous, hopeful. They recorded messages for Earth, talking about their dreams for the new world. Amy had recorded 3 messages. In the last one, she stood in the ship's observation deck, staring at the approaching planet. "I can see it, Sarah," Amy said, her face close to the camera. "It's beautiful. More beautiful than Earth. I wish you could see it. I wish you were here with me." She paused, her smile fading slightly. "I have this strange feeling. Like the planet is, I don't know, calling to us. Does that sound crazy? Anyway, I'll send you proper reports once we land. I love you, big sister." The video ended there. Sarah played it back dozens of times, studying her sister's expression. That strange comment about the planet calling to them. What did that mean? Launch day arrived in January 2032. The Requiem lifted off from Earth with 12 crew members who would spend 7 years traveling to a mystery. Sarah stood on the bridge as Earth shrunk behind them, becoming a blue dot, then a star, then nothing visible at all. "Whatever happened," Dr. Webb said quietly beside her. "We'll find out." Sarah nodded. She thought about the 847 colonists. Someone's daughter, someone's husband, someone's best friend, all of them silent for 14 years. All of them waiting, alive or dead, for someone to come find them. The Requiem accelerated into the darkness between stars, carrying hope and dread in equal measure. Sarah whispered a promise to Amy, to all of them. "We're coming. Just wait a little longer." 7 years felt both endless and instant. The crew of the Requiem spent their time in rotation, some awake while others slept in cryopods to save resources. Sarah had taken 3 shifts awake during the journey, each time finding the ship a little quieter, a little lonelier. Now they were all awake, crowded onto the bridge as Eden 7 filled their viewing screens. "My God," Dr. Tanaka whispered. "It really is perfect." The planet hung before them like a jewel. White clouds swirled over blue oceans. The continents were covered in green and brown patterns that suggested forests and plains. 2 ice caps gleamed at the poles. It looked so much like Earth that Sarah felt her chest tighten with emotion. "Beginning orbital scan," Lieutenant Park said, his fingers moving across the controls. "Looking for the Prometheus Dawn's beacon signal. They found it within minutes." The beacon was active, transmitting its location from the surface. The landing site was in a valley surrounded by forested hills near a wide river. Exactly where the colonists had planned to build their first settlement. "Life signs?" Sarah asked. Park shook his head. "Can't get clear readings from orbit. Too much interference from the planet's magnetic field. We'll need to get closer." The Requiem descended through Eden 7's atmosphere. The ride was smooth, the air welcoming them without turbulence. Through the windows, Sarah could see the landscape rushing up to meet them. The trees below were tall and thick, their leaves a vibrant green that seemed to glow in the sunlight. They landed 2 kilometers from the Prometheus Dawn site. Sarah wanted to approach carefully, ready for anything. The landing ramp extended with a hiss of hydraulics. Sarah was the first to step onto Eden 7's soil, wearing a full environmental suit despite the reading showing the air was safe. The ground was soft beneath her boots, covered in something like grass but softer, almost welcoming. She took her first breath of Eden 7's air after the sensors triple confirmed it was safe. It tasted sweet, cleaner than any air she'd ever breathed on Earth. The temperature was perfect, warm but not hot. A gentle breeze carried scents she couldn't identify, pleasant and fresh. "This place," Dr. Webb said, stepping beside her, "it's like someone designed it for humans." The team moved through the forest toward the colony site. The trees grew in natural patterns but seemed almost arranged to allow easy passage. Small animals scattered at their approach, resembling Earth's rabbits and birds but with subtle differences. Everything was peaceful, beautiful, alive. Then they saw the Prometheus Dawn. The massive ship sat in the clearing exactly as planned, its hull intact and systems showing green on their scanners. But there was no movement, no people, no sounds except the wind and distant animal calls. Sarah's heart pounded as they approached the main airlock. It was open. Inside, the ship was pristine. Lights functioned normally. The air circulation hummed quietly. They found the bridge first, expecting to see emergency messages or signs of panic. Instead, everything was orderly. The last log entry showed Commander Torres initiating the landing sequence, then nothing more. "This doesn't make sense," Park said, checking his weapon nervously. "Where is everyone?" They spread through the ship in teams, searching every corridor and room. The crew quarters were lived in, beds made or unmade, personal items scattered about naturally. The cafeteria had dishes in the sink. The medical bay had patient charts dated 3 months after landing, showing routine checkups for pregnant women and children's vaccinations. "They were here for months," Dr. Tanaka said, reading through the charts. Everyone was healthy. No diseases, no injuries beyond minor cuts and bruises. Sarah entered Amy's quarters. Her sister's paintings covered one wall. Beautiful landscapes of Eden 7's forests and rivers. A half-finished canvas sat on an easel, showing a sunset over water. Amy's clothes hung in the closet. Her journal lay on the desk. Sarah picked up the journal with shaking hands. The last entry was dated 4 months after landing. Today was perfect, Amy had written. Everything here is perfect. The sky, the air, the way the light feels on my skin. Sometimes I forget to paint because I'm just standing there, feeling how right this place is, how right we are here, how right IT feels. Tomorrow we're going deeper into the forest. I can't wait. I can't wait to see more, to feel more, to be more. The words made Sarah's skin crawl. Something was wrong with the tone, with the way Amy wrote. It didn't sound like her sister. They found the exterior settlement next. The colonists had built simple structures from local materials and synthesized components. Gardens flourished with earth vegetables and native plants growing together. Tools lay scattered around as if dropped mid-use. A child's toy sat in the dirt near a playground, but no people. Not one single body. Check this out, Park called from near the communications building. Sarah joined him, finding the long-range communication array completely dismantled. Not broken or damaged, carefully, deliberately taken apart, with components stored neatly in boxes. Someone did this on purpose, Park said. This wasn't an accident or equipment failure. They chose to stop talking to Earth. Dr. Webb was examining his tablet, frowning. I'm reading something strange in the air composition. There are organic compounds I've never seen before. Complex molecules that shouldn't be naturally occurring. Dangerous? Sarah asked. I don't know yet, but we've been breathing them since we landed. That night they returned to the Requiem to analyze their findings. Sarah couldn't sleep. She kept thinking about Amy's journal, about the empty settlement, about 847 people who had simply vanished. Around 3 a.m., she heard someone moving outside her quarters. She found Dr. Webb standing at a window, staring out at Eden 7's night sky. 2 moons hung in the darkness, larger than Earth's moon, casting silver light over the forest. It's so beautiful, Webb whispered. Don't you feel it, Commander? How right this place is. Sarah felt it. That was the problem. Eden 7 felt more like home than Earth ever had, and she'd only been here one day. Get some sleep, Doctor, she said quietly. But she knew neither of them would sleep well. Not here. Not on a planet that felt like paradise while hiding a terrible secret. 3 weeks on Eden 7 changed everything. Sarah noticed it first in small ways. Dr. Webb smiled more often, laughing at jokes that weren't funny. Lieutenant Park stopped wearing his sidearm, claiming he felt no danger here. Dr. Tanaka spent hours sitting by the river just watching the water flow, neglecting her research duties. Sarah felt it too. Each morning she woke feeling more rested than the day before. Colors seemed brighter. Food tasted better. Even her old knee injury from training stopped aching. The planet was healing her body, making everything better. But it was also changing them in ways that frightened her. They found more evidence in the colony's records. Personal video logs left by the colonists told a story that made Sarah's blood run cold. In the first weeks after landing, the logs were normal. People talked about building homes, planting crops, exploring their new world. They were excited and happy. But around week 6, the tone shifted. I feel different, one colonist named Robert Chen said in his log, his eyes distant, like I'm waking up from a long sleep. Everything on Earth seems like a dream now. A bad dream. This place, Eden 7, this is real. This is where we belong. The logs continued, growing stranger. People reported dreams that weren't quite dreams. Feelings of connection to the planet itself. Sensations of being welcomed by something vast and ancient. It talks to us, a woman named Dr. Patricia Hoffman recorded, not in words. In feelings. In knowing. The planet is alive. Not just alive like Earth is alive, conscious, aware, and it wants us here. It's been waiting for us. Sarah found Amy's video logs late one night. Her sister appeared on the screen, sitting cross-legged on the grass outside the settlement. 3 months after landing. Hey, Sarah, Amy said, smiling that familiar smile that now seemed foreign somehow. I'm going to tell you something you won't understand. Not because you're not smart enough, but because you're not here. You can't feel what we feel. She paused, looking at something off camera. The planet is changing us. We're changing ourselves, becoming part of something bigger, better. It's beautiful, Sarah. I wish I could make you understand. In the next log, dated 2 weeks later, Amy looked different. Her skin seemed to glow slightly in the sunlight. Her eyes were brighter, more alive. We're going deeper tomorrow, Amy said, into the heart of the forest where the feeling is strongest. Some people are scared. They want to resist. But you can't fight paradise, Sarah. You can't fight becoming more than you were. I love you. I hope you never come here because if you do, you'll have to make the same choice we're making. The final log showed Amy standing at the forest edge. Behind her, dozens of colonists walked between the trees, heading deeper into the darkness. Amy turned to the camera one last time. "Goodbye," she whispered. Then she followed the others and vanished. Sarah watched the video 3 times before she could speak. Dr. Webb stood beside her in the archive room, his face troubled. "The organic compounds in the air," he said quietly. "I've been analyzing them. They're not just molecules. They're almost like instructions. They interact with human brain chemistry, neurotransmitters. They make us feel good, happy, connected, but they also change how we think." "It's drugging us," Sarah said. "More than that, it's integrating us, making us part of the planet's ecosystem." Webb pulled up his research on a screen. "I found traces of similar compounds in the plants, the soil, even the water. Everything on Eden 7 is connected through these molecular networks, and now we're connected too." Sarah felt panic rising in her chest. "How long do we have?" "I don't know. The colonists were here for months before they went into the forest. We've only been here 3 weeks, but 3 weeks was already too long for some of them." That evening, Sarah found 3 crew members missing from dinner. She tracked them to the edge of the settlement, standing at the forest boundary, staring into the trees. "We should go in," Dr. Rodriguez said dreamily. "Don't you feel it calling? It wants to show us something wonderful." "Get back to the ship," Sarah ordered. "Now." They obeyed, but reluctantly. Sarah saw the hunger in their eyes, the desire to walk into those trees and never come back. She called an emergency meeting that night. Only 8 of the 12 crew members attended. The other 4 were found later, sitting by the river, refusing to return. "We need to leave," Park said. He was one of the few who still seemed mostly himself. "Whatever's happening here, we can't fight it. The longer we stay, the worse it gets." "We haven't found the colonists yet," Dr. Tanaka argued. "We can't leave without knowing what happened to them." "We know what happened," Sarah said flatly. "They went into the forest. They became part of this place. The question is whether we want to follow them." The crew argued for hours. Some wanted to search the forest. Others wanted to flee immediately. A few, Sarah could see, wanted to stay forever. The decision was made for them the next morning. Sarah woke to find half the crew gone. They'd taken equipment and supplies and walked into the forest during the night. Security footage showed them leaving with peaceful smiles on their faces, holding hands like children on a field trip. Only 6 remained: Sarah, Park, Webb, Tanaka, and 2 engineers named Rodriguez and Kim. "We leave today," Sarah said. "Pack essentials only. We launch in 6 hours." But when they reached the Requiem, they found the navigation system had been sabotaged. Not destroyed, but carefully disabled. It would take days to repair. "Who did this?" Park demanded. They all looked at each other. Any of them could have done it while under the planet's influence. Maybe all of them wanted to stay on some level, and someone subconscious had acted on that desire. Sarah felt the weight of command crushing her. They were trapped on a planet that was slowly, gently, lovingly transforming them into something that wasn't human anymore. That night, she stood at the settlement's edge, looking into the forest. Somewhere in there, Amy existed in some form. Changed. Different. Maybe happy. "I could find you," Sarah whispered into the darkness. "I could understand what you felt." The forest seemed to whisper back, inviting her in. Sarah turned away. Not yet, she was still human. Still herself, but for how much longer? Dr. Kim disappeared on the 32nd day. Sarah found her quarters empty, bed neatly made, a note left on the pillow written in careful handwriting. "I understand now. Please don't follow me, or do. Either way is right." That left 5 of them. 5 people trying to hold on to their humanity, while Eden 7 sang sweetly in their blood. The navigation repairs were taking longer than expected. Rodriguez kept making mistakes, forgetting steps, staring out windows at the forest. Webb worked frantically on an analysis, trying to find some way to filter the compounds from their air, but his hands shook and his eyes kept losing focus. "We're running out of time," Park said during their daily meeting. He looked thin, exhausted from standing guard duty every night to make sure no one else wandered off. "I can feel it in my head, like something's rewiring my thoughts, making the forest seem reasonable." Making staying seem smart. Dr. Tanaka nodded. I've been monitoring our blood chemistry. The compound levels are increasing. Our bodies are adapting to produce them naturally now. In another week, maybe 2, we won't want to leave. Sarah made a decision. Webb, Park, you two focus on the repairs. Tanaka and Rodriguez, you're confined to the ship. I'm going into the forest, Commander. No, Park protested. If you go in there, I need to know what happened, Sarah interrupted. I need to see what they became. Maybe there's evidence we can bring back to Earth. Maybe I can still reach Amy somehow. She knew it was a rationalization. Part of her simply wanted to go, wanted to surrender to whatever waited in those trees. But another part, the part that was still Commander Sarah Chen, wanted answers. She went at dawn wearing a camera and carrying emergency supplies. The forest welcomed her like a lover's embrace. The trees grew thicker as she walked, their canopy filtering the sunlight into green-gold beams. The air was thick with the scent of flowers and earth. Every breath made her feel lighter, happier, more at peace. She found signs of the colonists everywhere, discarded clothes hanging from branches, tools left in clearings, and markings carved into tree trunks, symbols that seemed to shift and change when she looked at them directly. After 3 hours of walking, she found the first colonist, or what had been a colonist. The woman sat at the base of a massive tree, her body partially merged with the bark. Roots grew through her legs, branches extended from her shoulders. Her eyes were open, staring at nothing, but her face wore an expression of absolute bliss. Sarah's stomach turned. She reached out to touch the woman's arm and felt warmth. Still alive. Changed beyond recognition, but alive. Don't be afraid, a voice said behind her. Sarah spun around. A figure stood in the shadows between trees. It took her a moment to recognize Commander Torres, the man who had led the Prometheus Dawn. He looked mostly human still, but his skin had a strange translucence, as if she could see starlight through his flesh. What happened to you? Sarah asked. Torres smiled. Evolution. Transformation. Transcendence. Choose whatever word makes it easier to understand. Eden 7 isn't just a planet. It's an entity, a living network of consciousness that spans every plant, every animal, every microorganism, and now it spans us too. You're trapped, Sarah said. We're free, Torres corrected gently. Free from pain, from fear, from the limitations of individual existence. We're part of something greater now. We experience the planet's thoughts, its dreams. We feel the growth of every tree, the flow of every river. We're everywhere and nowhere. You're not human anymore. Human is just one step in an evolutionary process. We're what comes next. Torres stepped closer. Your sister is here, Sarah. She wants to talk to you. The forest seemed to shimmer, and suddenly Sarah felt Amy's presence. Not seeing her, not hearing her, but feeling her consciousness touching her own. Memories flooded Sarah's mind. Amy's joy at landing on Eden 7, her wonder at the first sunrise, her fear when she realized what was happening, followed by acceptance, then rapture. Sarah felt Amy's existence now, spread throughout the forest, experiencing 1,000 sensations simultaneously. And underneath it all, Amy's love for her sister, unchanged and eternal. Join us, Amy's voice whispered through the trees. Be with me. Be part of something beautiful. Sarah fell to her knees, tears streaming down her face. Part of her wanted it so badly. To let go, to merge with this place, to be with Amy forever in this strange new form of existence. But another part remembered Earth, remembered humanity, remembered the oath she'd taken to bring back answers, not to become another mystery. No, Sarah whispered. I can't. Torres looked sad. Then you should leave quickly. The planet is patient, but it doesn't like rejection. Those who refuse integration too long, it takes them anyway, less gently. Sarah stumbled back through the forest, running now, the trees seeming to grab at her with their branches. She burst out of the forest edge, gasping, her lungs burning. Back at the Requiem, she found chaos. Rodriguez had tried to sabotage the repairs again, and Park had been forced to sedate him. Tanaka was in her quarters, speaking in whispers to voices only she could hear. Only Park and Webb seemed mostly coherent, working desperately on the navigation systems. Did you find them? Webb asked. Sarah nodded, unable to speak. She uploaded the video from her camera to the ship's systems, then watched with the others as they saw what the colonists had become. We can't let this happen to us. Park said, his voice hollow. We can't let it happen to Earth, Sarah agreed. But as she stood there, she could still feel Amy's consciousness brushing against her thoughts, inviting her back. The forest called to her, promising peace and unity and love. She had maybe 48 hours before she wouldn't be able to resist anymore. We leave in 2 days, she announced. Repairs or no repairs. Even if we have to limp back to Earth, we're getting off this planet, but could they? Or had Eden 7 already claimed them, just more slowly? That night, Sarah made a terrible decision. She began planning for what would happen if they couldn't all leave. If some of them were too far gone to trust on the journey home, she couldn't save everyone. But maybe she could save enough to warn Earth about the beautiful nightmare waiting on the promised planet. The navigation system came online 36 hours later. Webb and Park had worked without sleep, driven by the knowledge that every passing hour brought them closer to the point of no return. Sarah gathered the remaining crew in the bridge. 5 of them now, but she could see the changes in all of them. Tanaka's eyes had taken on a distant quality, as if she was listening to something far away. Rodriguez smiled constantly, even when nothing was funny. Webb's hands trembled, and she knew it wasn't from exhaustion. Park was the most stable, but even he kept touching the walls as if feeling for a heartbeat. And Sarah herself felt it most of all. The pull, the invitation, the sense that leaving Eden 7 would be the greatest mistake of her life. We launch in 2 hours, she announced. Pack only essentials. Once we're in orbit, we'll set course for Earth. What about the others? Tanaka asked softly. The crew members who went into the forest. We're just leaving them? They made their choice, Sarah said, though the words cut her like knives. We're making ours, but she knew it wasn't that simple. She spent the next hour in her quarters recording a message to Earth. She explained everything they'd found. The beautiful planet that wasn't what it seemed. The organic compounds that changed human consciousness. The fate of the colonists. The danger of sending more missions. Then she recorded a second message. A warning. A plea. Do not come here, she said, staring into the camera. I know what this sounds like. I know it sounds like we've gone insane. But Eden 7 is not a place for humans. It offers everything we could want, and that's exactly why we must never return. The transmission stopped because it had to. Because if they had kept talking, they would have told you how wonderful it was, how perfect. And more ships would have come. More people would have been lost. She paused, collecting her thoughts. I'm leaving this message, but I don't know if I'll send it. Part of me wants to erase all records of Eden 7's location, to make sure no one ever finds this place. But humanity deserves to know what's out here in the universe. Not everything beautiful is safe. Not everything that feels right is right. Sarah stopped recording. She sat in the silence of her quarters, feeling the planet's consciousness brushing against her mind like a gentle hand. I could stay, she whispered. I could be with Amy. The offer was so tempting. An hour before launch, Rodriguez disappeared. They found him at the airlock trying to leave the ship. Park had to physically restrain him. Let me go, Rodriguez begged. Please, it's waiting for me. I can feel it. I need to go. They sedated him and strapped him into his quarters. But as Sarah watched him sleep, she realized the truth. Rodriguez would sabotage the mission. If not now, then during the 7-year journey back to Earth. He would find a way to turn the ship around, to bring them back to Eden 7. And if she was honest with herself, she might help him do it. Sarah made the hardest decision of her life. She went to the medical bay and prepared 4 doses of sedative, strong enough to keep someone unconscious for months. She added a paralytic agent. Then she went to Dr. Tanaka. I need you to sedate me, Sarah said. Tanaka stared at her. What? I'm compromised. Rodriguez is compromised. You're compromised. Webb is barely holding on. Only Park seems stable enough to make it back to Earth. You can't be serious. If we stay awake, we'll sabotage the mission. We'll turn the ship around or damage it or find some way to return to Eden 7. You know I'm right. Tanaka's eyes filled with tears. She did know. They both knew. Sarah called Park and Webb to the medical bay. She explained her plan. Park's face went pale. I can't fly this ship alone for 7 years, he protested. You'll have Webb for the first few months, Sarah said. Get far enough from Eden 7 that the pull fades. Then sedate him too. The ship's AI can handle most of the journey. You'll wake us when we're close to Earth. And if something goes wrong, then you wake one of us early and hope they're coherent enough to help. Sarah looked at each of them. This is the only way. We all feel it. Eden 7 won't let us leave if we stay conscious. Webb nodded slowly. She's right. I've been fighting the urge to sabotage the navigation system all day. I keep thinking of reasons why we should stay, why we should go back to the forest. They sedated Rodriguez first, then prepared the others. Sarah was last. She lay on the medical bed watching Park prepare the injection. There's something else, she said quietly. The data we collected. The videos. The evidence. I don't think we should bring it all back to Earth. What do you mean? If they see what's here, some people will want to come. Scientists will want to study it. Corporations will want to exploit it. We need to show just enough to make them understand the danger, but not enough to make them curious. Park understood. You want to erase most of the records. Keep the basics. Enough to explain what happened. But not the details. Not the beauty. Not the temptation. Sarah felt the sedative beginning to work, her thoughts growing fuzzy. The colonists stopped transmission because they knew. They knew what would happen if Earth found out about paradise. We have to be smarter. We have to. The darkness took her. Sarah woke 7 years later in orbit around Earth. Park stood over her, older and worn but alive. He had made it. Against all odds, he had brought them home. The others? Sarah asked, her voice rough. Webb woke up once 3 years in. I had to sedate him again. Tanaka and Rodriguez are still under. I thought it safer, Sarah nodded. The data? I kept your warning message. Some basic records. But I erased most of it, like you said. Eden 7's exact location is gone from our navigation systems. I made it look like a malfunction. They reported to Earth that the mission had been a failure. Equipment problems. Data corruption. They found the Prometheus Dawn abandoned, but no clear evidence of what happened to the colonists. Possibly disease. Possibly environmental hazards. Possibly a decision to move inland away from the landing site. The survivors were debriefed for months. Rodriguez and Tanaka had to be institutionalized, speaking in whispers about a calling they couldn't explain. Webb recovered eventually, but he never spoke about Eden 7 again. Sarah spent the rest of her life fighting proposals for return missions. She testified before committees. She wrote reports. She used her reputation as a hero who survived 7 years in space to push back against curiosity. Some people believed her warnings. Others thought she had gone mad from the isolation of the journey. Earth moved on. New missions launched to other worlds. The mystery of Eden 7 faded into history, just another tragedy in humanity's push to the stars. But sometimes late at night, Sarah felt Amy's consciousness touching hers across impossible distances. She felt the forest's invitation, eternal and patient. She had saved humanity from the promised planet. She had preserved their ignorance, their fear, their beautiful limitation, and it had cost her everything. Sarah stood at her window, looking up at the stars where Eden 7 existed as a speck of light too far to see. Somewhere on that planet, 847 human consciousnesses existed as part of something vast and incomprehensible. Were they happy? Were they even themselves anymore? She would never know. The transmission stopped because it had to, and Sarah had made sure it stayed stopped even at the cost of her own peace. That was humanity's strength, she realized. Not that they could resist paradise, but that they could choose to protect others from it. Even when every cell in their body screamed to return, Sarah closed her eyes and whispered a goodbye to her sister, knowing Amy was already long beyond hearing human words. Then she turned away from the window and locked the memory of Eden 7 away, where it could never hurt anyone else. The price of mercy was silence, and Sarah Chen paid it gladly for the rest of her days.